Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Level Up. I am your host, n.u.king.
And I am your host, MIKAEL KEBEBE.
And today we have a very, very special guest, man. This is someone that I have a lot of admiration for. This person is an independent thinker. He thinks on an aspirational level. We actually went to the same school at the illustrious Fisk University.
Yeah.
You know, he's a millennial, but he's really not a millennial.
Hey, there you go.
You know, but yeah, man, tell you who you is. This is none other than Mr. Myles Harris.
How's everyone doing, man? I'm excited to be here.
Glad
I'm
to have
Myles
you.
the Millennial Harris, the millennial who's actually not a millennial, but technically still a millennial.
That's right.
And I'm excited to be here today, man. This is going to be great.
That was one hell of an introduction, I would say.
That's my guy, man. This is my guy. You know,
Myles, it's a pleasure to have you, man. Obviously, it's my first time meeting you.
Yes.
But we've had a good conversation before we start recording, and I'm looking forward to this conversation, man.
Yeah.
I think you have a lot of great value and a lot of great things you're doing.
Thank you.
And my brother will never bring anybody that he doesn't actually believe in. So
That's what
most
I'm
definitely,
talking
we got you here. Thank you again.
We're here to
We're
level
going
up.
to get into it, guys. We're going to dig in with Myles, you know?
for sure. So we're gonna hop right into it, Myles. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up. You know, give us some insight on that.
Yeah, so I'm 25 years old. I grew up in Houston, Texas. Came out this way, met KOSI at Fisk. Went there for a degree in business with a concentration in finance and economics. It was there where I really found myself, found my footing, my individualism, who I was as a man and as a person. Found my dream. Around my senior year, I found my dream, and I knew then that I wanted to be a motivational speaker and influence the minds of young adults in the world, which led to me, reaching out to certain people, figuring out how I could get there. And they advised me like, man, a way that you can add a lot of credibility to your name, a way that you can give a lot of knowledge to the world is by writing a book. So I had to ask myself, what was it that I knew? What was it that I felt I could be a subject matter expert on enough to speak towards to really build credibility and get my speaking going? And that was really the mindsets that help young adults to succeed in life. And that's why I wrote my best-selling book. It's an Amazon bestseller, Change Your Mind, Change Your Life, a young adult guide to fulfillment. And, it's been a journey ever since, and I've loved every single step of it.
Gotcha. And what's some of the challenges you face when it comes to changing that young minds?
Man, I'd say the biggest thing that you see young adults experience is so many different influences. We have information overload in this generation. So many different influences. You hop on social media, you hear an argument on one side this way, another side that way. It's really hard for people to be able to find out what the truth is for themselves when around every corner it's being challenged by a lot of, honestly, foolishness and ignorance. And it's tough to get young adults who are so impressionable, who are dealing with their own doubts and uncertainties, to really figure out what balance is in their life, to figure out what happiness is in their life, to figure out what truth is in their life. When you have so many people trying to push them down these very shallow and not positive avenues. So it's a battle to try and combat, specifically things like social media, because it wasn't something that 20 years ago you had to deal with. People had their influences in their own environments, but now people get influenced by environments that they've never even been in.
Right.
That's true.
And that's a very tough thing to deal with, because now you don't know what you're up against when you talk to somebody. You don't know if the kid that lives in the suburbs has, impoverished mindsets. You don't know if the kid who's, grew up in the hood dealt with a perfectly safe environment. You don't know what's going on in anybody's life. And that makes things a lot more difficult for you to be able to connect with. But it's different strategies and ways to be able to do it.
That's awesome, man. I got to say one thing, man. I got to wheel it real quick back.
Yeah.
You said a best-selling book on Amazon. I think we need to clap for that, man. We can't just...
Thank you.
We can't just skip that, like it didn't matter, man. Like, that's big. That's a big accomplishment. Can you tell us a bit about, obviously, what the process was for you from beginning in terms of at least to, publishing your book, getting it on Amazon, and becoming a best-selling, author? That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, so I'll walk you guys through the process. I know we're trying to help people level up, so there may be some people out there that are thinking about writing a book, or they'll watch this and they'll be inspired to talk about what they want to talk about. So I'll give you guys the game. I'm self-published. To start that, the reason, we can talk about this a little bit more later, but the reason why I wanted to self-publish was because I wanted to own my own rights. I wanted to be able to control the way I went about it and make sure that my strategy, my profits, all those things were mine. I controlled my direction, and nobody else could control it for me. That was a big thing for me. So when I got to writing, it's funny because I tried to write a book the way that I would try to write a paper, and it's not the same thing. Um, when you get into writing a book, what I had to learn is, and this is really just a lesson for anybody in life. This would be your first life lesson right now for the episode.
Listen up.
Do things in the way that's going to be convenient for you. You don't have to follow what somebody else's pathway was, right? So for me, I'm trying to write a book on a laptop. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for me. I'm trying to force myself, sit down for an hour a day and write about this topic, whatever that chapter is going to be about. And ultimately, I realized that I'm not a person that comes up with ideas when I'm forced to. I'm the type of person that comes up with ideas when I'm inspired. When it hits me in my head, it's like, oh, I can go, I can talk. And so what I started doing was I changed my whole game plan. Stop trying to write this on a laptop. Stop trying to force yourself to write it X amount of hours every single day. This isn't something like that, right? I can do that with money. I can do that with working out. But this is something that needs to be free flowing in thought. You have to be in a certain space. So I started writing on my phone instead. Allowed me to write faster because I can type on my phone way faster than I can on a computer. My phone goes with me everywhere. So I just pulled up a Google Doc and had access to that cloud anywhere. And so the second I would get inspired, I could be talking to somebody about a problem they're facing. And that just inspired me, like, this is something that people probably need some help with. Right. People always coming to me with their problems and their issues or things that I'm facing. Let's start writing. So I, developed my outline. I knew I wanted it to be a relatively short book. My book is 120 pages. Right. I didn't want it to be long because I know in my generation, we're not big readers. And if I put something very daunting out there, if I put it in a format that's not easily digestible, then the people I'm trying to reach are never going to read it. They're never going to even want to pick it up. Right. So started writing. Once I got through the process of writing the book, it took me about, I'd say like 2.5 months or so, 2.5, almost 3 months to finish writing the book in total. That was when we got to the part of, okay, how do we get this book out there? And did a lot of research. YouTube is your best friend when you don't really know what to do.
YouTube University.
YouTube University. So I got on there and started, how do you publish your own book? Where do you go? And you have to find a distributor. So I used Ingram Sparks. And the way that I really figured out how to become a bestseller was I learned a hack. So if you understand the formula on how bestsellers are calculated from Amazon, it's a week by week thing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like a Tuesday to Monday window. So it's a very particular window on how they calculate what's going to be a bestseller for that following week. But what people don't know is pre-orders all count, no matter when they're bought, towards your first week sales, right? So if you run a marketing and promotional strategy to where you do pre-orders, let's just say for a month, you do pre-orders for a month before your actual release date of your book. If your book releases on January 1st, you start doing pre-orders December 1st. If you sell 500 pre-orders, it won't look at it as, oh, he sold 100 books December 1st through the 7th. He sold 50 December 7th through the 4th. It doesn't look at it that way. When it gets to January 1st and your book releases, for that first week from January 1st to January 7th, it's going to count all those sales. And then it's going to count all of your pre-orders too as first week sales. And that is a hack that people use to jump into a bestseller category. So if you're ever writing a book, I highly advise people focus on your pre-sales because it will help. And, it is very important to get that bestseller next to your name because it leads to speaking engagements. It leads to a lot of credibility whenever you get out there. And you do need that to an extent when you're trying to say, hey, I'm a subject matter expert on what I'm talking about.
How did you go about the marketing when it came to having a bestseller? Because, I know once you get a certain level of sales, the algorithm on Amazon, of course, it picks up and it pushes it. But how did you go about the marketing? Were you marketing on social media? What platforms were you marketing on?
I was very strategic with the way I went about it. Sometimes you can be forward-facing with a product and you can just push it towards people. Other times you have to take a different approach. And I kind of learned this from Derek Grace. I learned part of this from Derek Grace was talk about something that people are interested and tilt it towards your product at the end of the video, right? So I would do that strategy for a little minute until I felt like it got a little tired out. So I'd talk about, something in relationships or something that young adults are facing or a trend that was going on with young adults. And I would talk about how, this is how you fix it. This is how you do better at it. And at the end of it, I would say, if you want the full version of this game, go see the link in my bio, and I would give people like a sample, right? They could put their email in and get the first chapter for free. People are now hooked on it because once they start reading it, they get through it. They're like, oh, I like this. And they'll order the full one. Other times, I took a different approach and I wouldn't put the book out there at all. I wouldn't promote it for like a whole couple of weeks. I would just talk and I would push out my content, and it was getting more and more followers, because what I realized is the followers that you have already, they've seen that product before. They're either a motivated buyer or they're not.
And you saying they saw it before? What you mean, like being
as in any other time I've
you?
already, well, not just that, anytime I've already posted this book, right. If I've been posting this book for a month, my followers know I got a book out. Right. If they haven't bought it by a certain point in time, they're more than likely not going to buy it. You guys done sales. Right. People are cold, hot buyers, inspired, whatever it is. Some people are more, motivated to buy and others aren't. But you don't focus on the ones who aren't. You need to figure out a way. Some people want to convert them. I'm not here to convert people to buy. Yeah. I'm here to find the people who need my product, create urgency for them to buy, and let them find their way. Right. And typically what ends up happening is you're more successful.
That's kind of what I was telling MIKAEL. We don't want to focus on the person who don't want our product. We want to focus on the people who do want our product.
Yeah. And that's a key thing, bro.
Yeah, especially like, a lot of times when you're first kind of pushing your product on social, on platforms, you look at people that might support you, then you see some people just watching your story, they're not supporting you, right? Sometimes people catch feelings about it, man. I done ran into some friends who are like, yo, I got homies that ain't supporting me. And I'm like, look, man, don't worry about that. Focus on who's supporting you. Yep. Keep casting your net where you actually want it, and actually at the same time value, in a sense. And the people that actually resonate with your message, they're gonna buy, they're gonna promote. And as you focus on the 3 people, if it's 3 people, 4 people, slowly before you know it, it's 5, 6, and it multiplies, man. And so just put your energy towards, like, don't focus on the negative. Of course, always look at how you could better your marketing, but focus on the positive and take into consideration like the people that are actually giving you the attention versus, focusing on people who aren't at the time,
And so I got a question. So did you know going into it when you was starting to sell your books or whatnot, did you know you was going to use Amazon, or did you know that going into it, or did you have your own personal website as well?
So I set up the website. That's the flip side of it when I talked about ownership at the beginning. So Amazon is, they are, you call them, I don't know how to really describe it in a politically correct way, but let's just say they're almost like a monopoly when it comes to the way that they control the products that you put on there.
Absolutely.
They take a major cut. So you put your book, it'll tell you when you get on Amazon, you can put the percentage, right? You can adjust yourself what percentage you want to give Amazon, what percentage you won't. But I had already watched the videos and I knew.
You say you can determine what percentage you're going to give.
You can determine the percentage on your book.
So it makes sense to give a smaller percentage.
Yeah, right.
But I'm saying, why would they let you?
I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Trust me. Just watch. That's why I'm saying they're a monopoly. They do what they want to do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I feel like they give you the illusion of choice. That's what I think Amazon does. Because I had already read or watched on some videos. They were like, if you put anything less than I believe 45 or 50% for it, they'll deny it because they don't have to accept your agreement. Right, you're creating an agreement with them whenever you're listing your book. This is what I'll give you. Amazon will not accept your book. They will decline it automatically. You'll get that response in an hour. Right, your book hasn't been accepted, but it's because they're not making as much money as they want to off of it. You have to give them like majority ownership of any sales that come through their platform, and they get 55% after the cost of the book comes out.
I expect you to be a robot in operations on the back end.
Yeah, because you're going to be the one promoting it, right? So what ends up happening is if my book $20, right? If my book's $20 and let's just say it costs $4 to make the book. So Amazon will print it. They'll print the book, that's $4 off top. But before they print it and take out that $4 and take 55% of the $16 that's left, they take 55% of the pre-production cost. So they're getting, let's say, $11.50, $12 off rip. Then they're going to take $4 off of your production costs, and then you get like $5 off a $20 book for every sale. So if I get 1,000 sales, it may have been worth $20,000.
Right.
I'm only gonna see 4,000, 5,000 of it.
Right.
It should have been $20,000 profit. So what I did immediately when I saw what they were doing, before I listed it and I was doing all my research, I said, yeah, I'm creating my own website. So when I do my marketing, that link in my bio, it only went to the pre-orders. I mean, it only went to Amazon during the pre-order stage.
Right.
So I could get bestseller.
Right.
After that, I don't promote you guys taking my money more than I promote my own platform.
Yeah.
I want the people that are supporting me and want to be a part of this journey to come to my platform, for me to have ownership of my customer list, not having Amazon have control of it, because that's what happens. Think about it. They own your data.
Right.
All these people you bought to their platform, Amazon's going to cross-market them now.
That's true.
You already bought this type of book. Now they're sending you offers for them to buy,
Right.
Sean King's book
Right.
and Oprah Winfrey's book.
Right.
We think you'd like this.
Right.
They're marketing to your user base.
So I guess what I'm asking, right?
Yeah.
They give you a set number of percentages that you have to choose from, because
Nope. You can type it in
and then they decide whether they want to
where they want to accept your contract, basically.
But it's
That's
set
what
up
you're
to
doing.
where if you don't give them the most,
They
Why would
already
they
all the
favor you,
videos
in a
said
sense, you know?
all the
So
videos
regardless-
said do 55%. If you do anything less than 55%, they will not accept it.
right?
And they weren't lying, bro.
You tried everything
Yes.
less than 50.
Yes, I tried. I tried
wow.
30%. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Denied. I tried 45%.
It's perception.
Denied.
Bro.
Yes.
It's perception. They make you think that they really are here for the people in a
Exactly.
sense. But that's the ultimate like corporate America monopoly,
Yep.
middleman shark
Yep.
move that Amazon, we know it's a great company.
Yep.
But we already know there's a lot of things about Amazon that's also like
For sure.
negative,
For sure.
in terms of how they take care of employees and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, that's a different topic.
Exactly. But that's kind of how you do like artist distribution deals. So that's
Right.
why I went through Ingram Sparks, because they're a distributor. They don't own my rights, right? I published it myself. I got my own ISBN number. All they're in charge of is print on demand.
Right.
Whenever I can order them myself. So I wanted to control my shipping too, because I like writing in my books and putting it out there and shipping people in packages and whatnot.
It's the
So
presentation behind
exactly.
it too, yeah.
So I'll order bulk from them, get it shipped to me, and then whenever I get orders on my website, I'll fulfill it myself. That's just the way that I found works best for me and the way I like to control my process. But they only get the cost of making the book.
Right.
They don't get any extra percentage of it.
Right.
Because they put their little fee in it. But if it costs, $2.50 to make the book, that's what they get. Plus
Right.
like 30 cents a book or something. It's real cheap. So now I'm getting a 90% profit margin versus on Amazon, I'm getting 20%.
But I mean, you don't still find it cost effective, to maybe use Amazon, because there's a lot that goes behind the operation of fulfilling those orders once you do it yourself.
Yeah,
Because
for
you know
sure.
what I'm saying? You got shipping fees.
Yep.
You got gas to travel to take them to the post
Yep.
office. You know what I'm saying? Do you still find it more efficient and effective to do it that way?
I do.
Instead of using Amazon?
I'll say this. I'll pose the question back to you. If I told you got to put in maybe an extra 4 hours a week to make 3 times the money, would you do it or would you not? Let's just say at your job, whatever your salary is right now, they will pay you 3 times your salary if you put in 4 extra hours of work. Would you do it?
Right.
All right. Then. So that's exactly what I'm doing. 4 or 5 hours extra print is not that much, right, for me to handle. It's real simple. I don't have a product that's really difficult to package up and takes a lot of time.
Right.
And paying for the labels, I include that in the cost of people buying the product. So it's not really coming out of my pocket. It's coming out of the fees that they're already paying when they check out.
But like the boxes as well too, though.
Well, I use mailers. So mailers are way cheaper than boxes because I have such a thin product.
Okay.
Right.
Mailers are far cheaper, and and matter of fact, I don't use like the UPS or USPS mailers because those are more expensive. I get custom made ones on Amazon, and they're cheap.
Right.
I can get like 200 of them for $20.
Right.
So I will literally grab things from
That's game.
every single piece. Who has the best product for the best price? If the only thing that has to come out of me in this circumstance is my time for 4 hours, 5 hours a week, I'm cool with that. But you see, there is a point. There will come a point where when you're selling hundreds of thousands or millions of books, where you do have to scale.
Yeah.
and you do have to sacrifice your profit margin in order, or you got to bring employees in, one or the other, right? You have two choices. You either outsource to another company and they get a fee off of what they're doing and you get to sit back and relax, or you bring in employees to where you still own your process and everything that you're doing, but now you have to train people, right? You have to pay them. You have to make sure that they're keeping quality control a right way. That's
quality
important.
Control is important.
Exactly. So all offers.
Essentially, Amazon has the people.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And
that's why we go to Amazon.
Exactly.
And that's why a lot of businesses market their business on Amazon. They have the audience, they have the people. So in a sense, you don't got to do your own lead marketing.
Yep.
Platform does it for you in a sense, right? But like you said, man, it is way more worth it to have your own website, control your own data.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, if Amazon decides to kick you off the platform,
you screwed. You don't have any of it.
So man, I know your book is finna scale.
Yeah.
You finna scale.
Yeah.
We fixing the scale.
Yeah.
You know, what decision are you gonna make is in terms of, you know, you outsourcing somebody or you doing it yourself?
I would much rather bring in employees.
Yeah.
If the profit margins make sense.
Yeah.
I would definitely want to bring in employees. Plus, I think it's better when you have minority-owned business, a Black-owned business. I want to learn that structure myself.
Yeah.
Right. I want to implement it. I have all these concepts in my head about how I think businesses should work. Right. Because there's a difference. There's levels to entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
When you're doing it on your own, you're at a certain level. I don't necessarily call that business yet. You're an entrepreneur though.
Mm-hmm.
Business. That's when you start bringing in and you're paying other people, right? I have employees. I don't care if it's a second person, a third person. Now you're doing a business because you got HR now. You got to, even if you have two people there.
That's true.
Technically, you got HR.
I'll have to get HR for him, bro. He be acting up, bro.
What you talking about? Oh my God.
But yeah, technically, whenever it's not the people that own it who are working it, there's a whole different conversation you have to have.
Right.
Do these people get shares, right? Like private stock. Do they get a piece of this?
Right.
The people who started with you, you're starting to scale. How do you offer them packages for their salaries? Do they get benefits? Because the government says that after a certain point, you have to pay these people's health insurance.
True.
Right? Or they're going to have to be, even your contractors to a certain extent sometimes have to be paid health insurance by you. And they're not even technically your employee.
Right.
If they work a certain amount of hours, you have to offer them these benefits. So that's when you really get to another level. I read this one quote and it said, or it wasn't even a quote. I think it was, matter of fact, I think it was Ian Dunlap on Earn Your Leisure who said this.
Master investor.
Master investor. He said, you know, he was in a room with a bunch of people who were entrepreneurs, and he asked the question like, could you step away from your business for a month or a year or whatever, and it would still be a profit producing machine and run well without you? Doesn't have to run perfect, but would it run well without you? And he said the majority of people said no. He says if that's the case, you don't have a business. You just replace your job with your own thing. That's the only difference. Because you're too pivotal to it. Bill Gates could die tomorrow. Microsoft is still going to be able to produce everything that they produce.
True.
When Steve Jobs passed for Apple, Apple has done even better in the stock market since his passing with Tim Cook as their CEO than they did with him. But if Steve Jobs was the most pivotal part of Apple, they would have crashed. They would not be what they are today. They run everything. They're the most valuable company in the world. True. So, you know, when we talk about all these things, I would love to do business that way. As a Black business owner, to scale, to understand, you know, to really get to the way where I'm empowering people's lives. Why pay another company outside my community to do work that I could pay somebody else that's probably already doing it or can teach them how to do it?
That's dope, man. You gave a lot of game already.
I'm trying, man. I'm here to help.
Mr. Myles is not here to play.
He's not here to play, man. But you know, we on limited time, man. I wish we can go all day.
Man,
you know
we can go all day, guys.
But you know, we can make it happen all day if that's what y'all want to do.
We here.
We got some time.
I'm not ducking.
I do want to know a little bit about you. You know, in terms of like your life story. You guys went to college together.
Yeah.
First of all, how'd you guys meet?
We met. Shoot.
Man, listen, bro. We always just had great energy with each other, man. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, this is a smooth cat. He was looking at me like,
yeah,
man,
we was some sharp cats. I'm not gonna lie.
I remember it was one party that we was at, man.
I was about to say a party.
Man. He was like, bro, you got it, bro. You got it. I'm like,
that's exactly where it's
appreciate it, bro. I'm like, you got it too, bro.
That's exactly.
And I understood the message. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But nah, we've been tapped in ever since, bro.
That's awesome, man. And tell us a bit about, I guess, your guys' experience. I know you guys went to college together, but like
Yeah.
you said, you studied business
Yeah.
in college, right? How did business translate into what you're doing today? And I believe you're working in tech as well, right?
Yeah.
As a project manager, like we were discussing, you had mentioned. So can you tell us a bit about like
Yeah.
your experience in the tech world, your experience of transitioning from college into that world, and now doing what you're doing? What are some key points and maybe like some experiences that you can highlight
Yeah.
that has made you the person you are today?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'll start with like what business in college taught me. Honestly, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. I'm not gonna lie. Because
Said the same thing. But
those
don't take away
textbooks,
from the experience.
not at all.
Facts.
And I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk about what
Right.
college, I think, what it did for me.
Right.
From a actual studies perspective, especially something like business. Business is something you learn by doing.
Mhm.
You learn by actually observing or being a part of the process and watching it hands on. Business is not something that you can learn by reading a textbook. It just isn't.
Mhm.
You can read a textbook, get the highest grades all you want, and put that person to go run a company.
Yeah.
It's gonna fall apart.
Right.
Because business is a lot about people, understanding the mindsets and psychology of what makes people tick. It's a lot about learning processes and systems. And those things you can't learn by doing an in-class project. Now, I think there are ways that school could help and do it better. I think there's ways that curriculums can be taught to actually help students know what it's like. But taking a test, regurgitating information is not how business works.
Yeah.
You can follow those scripts all you want.
Well, I feel like you can definitely get concepts from books and
You can.
reading the books.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're not human readings. We human
Exactly.
beings. You have to
Exactly.
be an entrepreneur or a business.
Like
owner.
that.
Not human readings.
We're not human
beings.
beings. We're human beings. We have to be just that.
Yeah. And I'll say, so yeah, but I'll say what benefited me from college and why I think college is important. Now, there's a whole financial aspect to it with student loans that I think we have to have a conversation on
Right.
a whole different level. This college is
That's
is-
robbery.
I
Yeah.
saw some people cry coming out that
Come on,
financial aid
bro.
office.
Come on, now.
Like literally, bro.
For some situations, it don't make sense, and there's a
Right.
different way that you may need a different
We know
path you
that
might need
now,
to take.
for
Yeah,
sure.
but I went to school on full ride, so that was 4 years for me to be able to learn life.
Right.
Right? College introduced me to myself and introduced me to people who, on a personal level, outside of anything else, are going to be, godparents to my kids, right? Or have been my rocks and my solidarity in situations when I needed them. But the other thing college did for me, being on that campus, it taught me presence. It taught me, like, especially on such a small school like Fisk, and where anything can get around real easy, you had to learn how to maneuver and be smooth with everything that you did and be tactful.
Yeah.
And that's a very strategic thing for life, and especially in business, because if you wide open, you're vulnerable. And you have to be careful with what you share, what you say, how you present yourself. I was always very big, and KOSI knows this, he can speak to this. When it was Dress for Success Wednesdays, I was gonna try and be the best dressed person on
I'm
that
talking about
campus.
the cleanest suit on campus. I'm like,
Every time.
that guy gonna be the president.
Exactly. But I did that on purpose.
Right.
One, because it made me feel good, but two, I knew that what this gives off in terms of my brand and my image is going to lead towards success, especially if I can back it up with my talk once people get to meet me.
Yeah.
I got introduced to so many people, so many opportunities. I got the job with the company I work with now through college.
Yeah.
So, college is worth it if you go into it with a certain type of mindset.
Right.
I think that a lot of people's mindsets should start kind of warped about what it's really going to do for them. Because it's too many people I know walk across that stage. They're like, I got my degree now. Let me go get this job.
And haven't been exposed.
It's
No
not
type
happening.
of life yet, bro.
It's not happening.
Almost definitely, man. You need life experience.
Yeah.
And like you said, man, I think some of the best experiences. I only spent 2 years in college. I got out of college because personally, the tuition didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was myself. You know my story. I came here, from Ethiopia. I didn't have my family here. I was supporting myself for the most part. I said, this doesn't make sense. I gotta go to work. I gotta get some money.
Yeah.
And that taught me more than I could have learned at a 4-year college, honestly.
Yep.
I'm gonna tell you what happened to me, Myles. So it's just funny to me how you can get a $75,000 student loan.
Yeah.
But you try to walk in this bank, ask for a $75,000 business loan.
Come on.
Can't get
Like,
that.
What they doing?
I would be way more effective
Uh-huh.
if I didn't go to college and you give me a $75,000 business loan.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they won't trust you with that.
No.
It's a system though.
Yeah.
It's a system. The banks own the colleges.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like the banks run,
Everything.
everything.
It doesn't matter what you're talking about.
System is rigged essentially, right? And I think some of the best people who have made greatest impacts here that we know, are self-taught.
Yeah.
People who also really just learn from others.
Yeah.
Books, right? Mentors, networking. I think those things are very crucial, man. I don't think just going to college makes you a successful person.
Yeah.
But obviously, you got to get out here in the real world and really get tested and try and see if you're true.
That's real.
We obviously studied business together. Who was your most inspirational teacher, would you say, who you benefit from the most?
At Fisk or just in general life?
At Fisk or just business coach? Because I mean, I feel like,
Oh, I know exactly who was my favorite one.
Yeah.
And it's for different reasons. Like, I love Dumontoin for his personality. Cabernero, that financial, like his macroeconomics and from a numbers perspective, that dude was sharp. And he knew what he was talking about with stocks.
Yeah.
But I think
like
accents and stuff like that was tough.
Yeah.
But
that was my guy.
His
I like
class was
Cabernero.
difficult, but he was
Cabernero.
cool. Cabernero, he was tough. I like him. But do you remember Winston Williams?
Man, I love that guy. Jamaican guy.
Yes.
Man, he was
the
probably
one for
the
me.
best teacher, bro.
He was the one for me.
He explained. Yeah.
He
was explaining some broad concepts.
He was. But you want to know why?
And I could relate to him too.
But you want to know why? Think about it. He owned his own company. Absolutely. And I think that's a big difference. Like a lot of professors a lot of professors who teach business have never ran a business.
Yeah. Right.
They just have a master's in business, doctorate or whatever, and so they're qualified to speak on it. Don't get me wrong, they're qualified to teach the concept, but are you qualified to help me know how to run a business? We're doing an entrepreneurship class or anything.
They informing you, they're not teaching you.
Exactly.
A lot of times it's outdated too.
Exactly. Honestly, because those textbooks ain't up to date. They 10 years behind, easily.
Especially, it's not keeping up to date with technology or nothing like that, man. Business constantly evolving.
Yep. I loved Williams because he took his time to explain things. He go completely off the curriculum and just talk.
Williams, wherever you at.
Yeah. But he made a lot of money.
He was my mentor in school, honestly.
Yeah. Nah, he was like that,
a great mentor, bro.
And he really, you talk to him like he believed in you. And he didn't take, I always liked him because he could tell if you were BSing. Yeah. He wasn't afraid to say it. Like, come on, dude.
So entrepreneurship for you, man, Myles. Obviously, you're a bestseller now on Amazon. You're a businessman. You're running your own show in a sense. You're a motivational speaker, life coach.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, man. What is the journey for you right now in terms of like what you're experiencing? What are you learning about entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
And where would you like to take it from here?
Man, doubt. That's the biggest word I can say right now. Is uncertainty. Being an entrepreneur can be very uncertain and can make you doubt. You ride waves in entrepreneurship. Yeah. It's not consistent. And that's the difference between doing things on your own and being a part of a company and working for a business. When you work for somebody else, you go in, you do your job, you're going to get paid X amount. Right. Entrepreneurship, that number can fluctuate every single week. Right. You could have a week that you do $10,000 in a week. You could have a week that you do $10 in a week. It could be anything. You don't know what to expect. But what you do know is I got to wake up and I got to get out there because if I don't, I know for sure I'm getting nothing. Right? And so when you get to those periods of time, right, I dealt with my own struggles with, you get to the point where sometimes you get too comfortable and you relax a little bit because things are going so well. But you can't get comfortable with that. As an entrepreneur, you got to remember, like, for the majority of people who are entrepreneurs, you're doing this because you're trying to create an exit strategy for yourself, especially if you work in a 9-to-5 job. You're trying to create an exit strategy to get you out of there. And if that's what you're going to be trying to do, then if from 9 to 5 you work for them, 6 to 10 you work for you every single day. And even more than that, and this is a message for all entrepreneurs, your weekends are where you get ahead. Friday, Saturday, Sunday can be a time that you go party, or it could be a time that you focus on creating your content. It can be the time that you focus on going to a networking event. It can be the time that you reach out to a mentor or learn or read a new book, learn a new strategy, try a new concept. The weekends are where you make a difference. If you really think about it, and I'll put this in a perspective, I like to go to the gym and work out. how much stronger would I be if I'm always working out 5 days a week? If I added a 6 day in, I think I would be immensely stronger. That's 52 extra workouts in a year.
Right.
Just by adding 1 day, you get 52 extra workouts in a year. Would I not be way stronger? What would be the results of that? So imagine if you add in 1 day for you to work on your business solely and focus on that, where you give it your all. Where would you go?
That's true.
So it's about being an entrepreneur is about developing a balance, especially when you're doing that between life. Developing a balance between what you give to the company that you work for and what you're going to give to yourself. And in my eyes, you have to prioritize what you're doing as much, if not more, because it's your dream and nobody cares if you make it or if you don't.
How old are you?
25.
25, man. It's a great mindset to have at 25.
Appreciate that, man.
You know, I tell KOSI this all the time. I'm 33 years old. There are things I wish that I thought about like this when I was at that age at 25, you know?
Yeah.
And I give my hats off to you guys, man, seriously. And that's one thing I do love about KOSI.
Yeah.
And obviously now you a good brother.
Yes, sir.
That I'm going to get acquainted with as well. And that's a great mindset to have, man, seriously. All you guys listening, what I could do in my life is really share my experience in my 20s and what I did. You know, of course, I've learned a lot, and all of us have a different journey, but you learn a lot in life, and of course, you guys will come across a lot of different things. I speak like an old man now in the next few years to come.
That's real.
But most definitely, man, being able to grasp that concept that the earlier you get to it, man, the earlier you understand that, the faster and you can get to your destination in a sense. Real. And so, yeah, most definitely, the weekends are a time to take the time to really focus on your dreams, and build.
And one thing on what you said about like your experiences and wisdom, this platform is built off of wisdom. Like what I do and even what y'all are doing, like it's built off of our own personal experiences, but also things that we've learned through others. Right? Like I can't tell people. I had my barber earlier today. He was asking, he's like, where do you get all this relationship advice from? You know, you 25. You know, I know you got a girlfriend, y'all been together a while, but where do you get all this relationship advice from? Because you talk way too old about some of these concepts.
I imagine you have older parents too.
I do. My parents are older. You know, my dad's 62, 63. They had me when they were 38 and 33.
Yeah,
so my parents were established.
When they was like 43.
See? But there's a difference, and I've noticed a very big difference between people who have younger parents and people who have older parents.
It's a very distinct difference.
Yes. But, you know, the advice that my pops gave me, I learned very early on. Part of my story, you asked a question about my story, right?
He said that so strong, it had me like he said it's very
distinct. Because he, bro,
I know,
he done see some foolishness out here.
Bro, I still see some foolishness today, bro. I'm like, bro, get it together, man. Just get it together.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Part of like the story that you were asking about me, man, hard head. That was one thing about me growing up, a hard head. And you know the saying, a hard head make a soft behind. Boy, I had a soft behind because I was getting toe up.
Yeah.
But I was constantly in trouble, man. Because I just wouldn't listen. I always wanted to do things my way. I always thought I was a little bit smarter and I could, weasel my way around this situation. But I always would get, caught up in it and get in trouble.
Right.
And one day when I was 16 years old, I said, man, I'm really tired of having things happen the hard way in my life. Like, I'm really tired of always being on punishment, being grounded, whatever is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Tired of my parents being upset, disappointed. And I'm a good kid. Like, I get straight A's. But I just, from a disciplinary perspective, just a knucklehead.
Right.
And I learned then at that moment, I said, you know what? I'm going to start listening and give that a try. Let me give listening a try. I'm like, dang, I don't get in trouble no more. I realized life is a lot easier when you just listen to the people before you that are trying to help you. Mm. And I applied that to my life. And it helped me with everything going forward. It helped me with girls. It helped me with business. It helped me with friends. It helped me with so many things that I think so many people are still trying to learn today. I started listening when the dude that was 30 years older than me told me about how distractions or not taking advantage of like a special woman, right? You got a girl that you see that loves you genuinely, that prioritizes you as being important in her life. She sacrifices for you. Don't focus so much on playing around in these streets and having your fun that you let somebody who could be the wife to your children pass through. If it don't work out, that's cool. But don't let a good woman pass you by because they're hard to come by.
True.
And I really noted that when I saw some of the pain in a 55, 65, 75-year-old man's eyes, and you see that they're lonely. You see that they regret that mindset that they had about spending their 20s and their 30s tricking off, doing them. Because at a certain point, that game is no longer fun. And I say, let me keep that in mind because I have my fun. KOSI though, I have my fun.
Fisk University.
Hey man,
I had my fun too,
look,
bro. You know,
what we say, we recognize each other.
They're ready. They're ready now. They're ready.
But when it came time to like see something that was special for me, I had to ask myself like, if this is a risk that you're taking, there's a lot out here. You sure you wanna? And I had to learn my lessons even through that. It wasn't perfect,
right? Most definitely.
But it was definitely worth it for me to do because being with her has removed so many distractions from my life. I'm not worried about 10 different women texting my phone at the same time and which story I got to keep up to this one, who I'm going to talk to today, which one I'm going to see after the party tonight. I don't worry about any of that. I got my one, and that's what I care about, and that's what's going to get my priority. And she's been the person who helped me design the book. She's read my chapter and say, I don't like the way this sounds. And it's tough because we get into some arguments over like certain things be hurting my ego. Yeah. Because I think that like this is right. But I learned this wisdom. Dang, every single time this girl done told me to do something a different way when it comes to my business, it works out better. I'm gonna just start listening.
They say black women are the most powerful creatures in this universe.
I'm telling you, whatever you give them, they'll multiply.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when I recognize that, it's like to the big point is wisdom take you a lot further.
The right black woman though.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Wisdom take you a lot further than trying to always do things your way. And there's certain things you got to figure out on your own, certain things you're gonna have life lessons on. But wisdom, in the words of my boy Malcolm's father, he said something to us that was so real. He said, we were going through some things and he was telling us to stay in touch with him. And he said a comment that didn't make sense at the time, but when I thought back on life, I said, dang, this is the realest thing I ever heard. He said, keeping in touch with me, reaching out to me, talking to me about your problems. I'm not saying it's going to make life any easier, but it will make it less difficult. Right. And I think that's the realest thing ever. That's what mentorship is. That was good. That's mentorship.
That's a real OG right there.
For real.
It's funny. That boy Myles said, y'all not about to get me in trouble.
Look,
I love it, man. I love it.
We here with it.
Can we expect some little Myles running around soon?
All right.
I would hope so, but I got to give her time because my girl's a year and a half younger than me. So I've had 3 years out of school. Yeah. This is her first full year being out of school. Yeah. And everybody knows like once you graduate, there's a transition period from school to like really figuring yourself out, being on your own. She got her own dreams, things that she's accomplishing. I know that like I don't want her to be so focused on being a mom before she can focus on being her own individual person. Absolutely. We just enjoying being girlfriend and boyfriend and loving each other and living that life. So
that's awesome, man. Hey,
I want some kids for sure.
That's a stand-up guy.
Trying to be, man.
What advice can you give KOSI about?
Oh man, he good, bro. He good. I think somebody like KOSI, man.
If anybody seen me anybody saw me transition, it's Myles.
No, for sure. That's like I was about to say.
Totally different from college.
No, he really is, man. But even then, even in college, I saw like your leadership. One thing about you did things your way. Like you had your path that you were gonna walk, and you were focused on that path. Now we had our fun. Like I said, we had our fun.
When you're young, you're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to get out your system. You're supposed to experience, as men especially, man. If we don't have experience, it's later in our lives we want to have it.
Exactly.
So it's
better to do it now. It definitely is.
Because it's not cute. It doesn't look good when you're older, man.
Facts.
It really doesn't benefit you.
Facts.
But that's awesome, man. You said a lot of great things. KOSI, what you got for this brother, man?
Man, it's been a great show, man. It's been great having you on, man.
I loved it, bro.
I do want to know. Go ahead. Actually, I was gonna say, what you working on now, man? What can we talk about as far as like what Myles got going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, so I'm excited. I got a couple things coming. So first, gonna be writing my second book. This one's gonna be more focused toward young adult men. I'm gonna tell y'all the title of it when we get off. Well, what I'm thinking for the title of it because I'm not sure yet. When we get off, I'll tell y'all what the title is because I can't have nobody stealing the IP. But I'll let y'all know what it's about, and I think y'all are gonna really like it. But basically, I want to dive in on a very chronic issue that has played young adults, and I want to really figure out, especially with our young adult men, how we can change the narrative for them, because I think that where the men set their roots and place their actions and their priorities is where the women tend to follow. I think that a lot of things that you see with women nowadays that, we as men complain about or don't like, they're literally just symptoms of stuff that we've been doing for 20 years and they didn't adapt it. Sure. And so we want the narrative to change. You're not going to get the narrative to change by continuing to chastise them and tell them, y'all need to stop this, y'all need to stop that. We need to behave as what we are supposed to be. And then the ones who don't want to adapt, well, guess what? They're just going to, it's like evolution,
At
right?
the same time, I feel like if a male is literally on that divine time and literally following his purpose, the right woman gonna come.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my entire point. Is we as men, so I'm just saying as a collective, right? We can use a minor case study. If you doing what you're supposed to do as a man, women who do not fit your avenue can't fit there. Yeah. They just can't. They're gonna try and come, and it cannot succeed. Or if you do allow it in and you go against the nature of what you're supposed to be doing, anytime you allow things in that ain't supposed to be there, they destroy. So you'll see yourself fall apart.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying is like, we as men have to set the course of what we're supposed to be, not what women are supposed to be, because they're gonna adapt to whatever we're doing. Right. I know this for a fact because, like I said, I have fun. I'm gonna keep saying I have fun.
Right.
You know this because you have fun. You probably had your fun too.
So you know that is.
what happens? What happens when you're talking to a woman, right? Like, have y'all ever been around a woman and she's been around you enough? Could have been a girl you was dating or a girl you was just messing with for long enough to where, even let's not even say girl you talk to, because I've seen girls do it on the first, second time you hanging with them.
Right.
They start to get interested in the things that you're interested in. Mm-hmm. Oh, you've been going to the gym for the last 3 months. Now all of a sudden she want to go work out. Right. She didn't want to go work out when you was first telling her to do it, but your dedication has made her be like, oh, I need to step my game up. Right. Oh, he's interested in financial literacy. Let me start learning about different ways I can make some money. Right. You're exposing her to sides of life and avenues that she hasn't even thought of yet. Right. But that's only because you're doing something that you're supposed to do. But when you're deteriorated as a man, when you're broken as a man, guess what we do? We just make the woman more broken too.
At some point, she's gonna come conscious of that.
Exactly. She's gonna leave you.
Because we're supposed to be leaders, man. You know,
it's our natural way.
That's our natural way.
Yep.
And it's to say a woman has her own way of leading as well, but we play two different parts.
Two different roles.
You know.
Yeah. But we're a team.
Well, we're a team.
And so let me ask you this: I did see in your bio on Instagram.
Yeah.
Is that what redefining masculinity means to you?
Boom. Okay. So redefining masculinity, like, because I do think that there's a weird war going on right now. Yep. A very weird war on both avenues. I see on one side things that are making men way, way, way too off the deep end when it comes to our emotions and our femininity, which we do possess. But it takes us too far off the deep end. And then I see the flip side of it, which is way, way, way too focused on like old school traditional masculinity standards. And I don't think there's a balance in that, right? And and the reason why I say it is, pay attention to the men who say a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And ask yourself, do most of these men seem like they're at peace, or do they seem like they're agitated, mad, aggravated? Majority of the men that I see that represent the traditional masculine mystique seem upset. Right. They seem pissed off all the time. Right. The men who are on the feminine side seem a lot more at peace, but they can't serve a purpose. The balance is accepting both your femininity and your masculinity, realizing that everybody has their different balances, right? I read The Way of the Superior Man. Great book. Like, let's just say you're a masculine man. It doesn't mean you 100% masculine. Right. Because if that's the case, why is it that, I don't know about y'all, but for me, I'm honest, I love being cuddled. As much as I like cuddling, I love when my girl cuddle me.
Mm-hmm. Ain't no lie in that.
It feel good. It feel good. I'm like, dang, somebody's like caring for me. That's your feminine side.
Yeah, we want nurturing, bro.
We want to be nurtured.
Yeah. It relieves stress too.
Exactly. Yeah. So things like that, it makes common sense when you see in your real life the way your balance plays out. And I want men to redefine themselves by figuring out what your natural balance is and operating within it.
And it's just simply just get to know yourself. Man.
Exactly. Exactly. We be living concepts instead of living our true mindset, our true self. We want to be like this person. He says I got to be this way. And so you're trying to live up to the standard that your father, your uncles, whatever told you you have to be as a man. Well, that worked for them. Right. That may not be what works for you. Right. And so I'm trying to heal a generation of broken boys out here that are becoming men, because that's what we really are. Like, a lot of us is boys that's just grown as hell.
Absolutely, man.
Systematic oppression too.
There we go,
man. We can talk about this all day, man. But Myles, it's definitely been great having you on, man. I know we're running short on time. Before we let you go, man, and since this show is about leveling up, give my audience 3 words, man, that they can apply to their lives in order to level up their lives.
Yeah. When you say this question, it's tough because words. You know what? I'll give it to them. I got something I can use. So, motivation. How do I want to say this? Okay. Motivation, discipline, and diligence.
Absolutely.
So when I go into this, can I break it down real quick?
For sure.
So know the difference. So motivation will get you started. Motivation will have you doing it when it's convenient, when you like it. But what happens when it's not comfortable anymore? When it's not easy for you to wake up and go to the gym, when it's uncomfortable or you're tired and you don't want to make that content or send out that marketing email or make that cold call, motivation dies at that point. Right. You won't go any further. If you're just a motivated person, you will be limited in your success. Discipline is the next level. You see, motivation is doing something when you want to do it. Discipline is doing something whether you want to or you don't. You do it consistently. You're going to do it because it needs to be done, whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it. And discipline is very helpful because it breeds a level of, experience, skill. You start to develop that when you're disciplined. You see growth. You see improvements. But you see, discipline plateaus at a certain point. Right? If you go into the gym and you do the exact same workout every single day, eventually your body does not transform anymore because you're not giving it 100%. You can't be. Your muscles have adapted and you're not stretching yourself further. You're not going farther beyond. Right. So discipline is doing something when you want to, when you don't want to. Motivation is doing something when you want to. See, diligence is the word. That's what we're striving for. See, diligence is doing something whether you want to or you don't want to at a high level. When you're diligent about something, you're constantly trying to improve. Yeah. That 1% better each day. It's that mindset that says, I did this yesterday pretty well. I feel like if I score myself, I'm a 99. How can I get 100? And then when I get 100, well, how can I do 101? How can I be better than perfect? Yeah. What is the next level for me? How can I level up, if you will?
That's that Mamba mentality.
Exactly. So, that's the difference. And I want people to really understand that, because most people in anything they strive for in life, they stop at 1. If 70% of people stop at 1, 29% of people stop at level 2 of discipline. The 1% that create the life that they really want, the difference is diligence.
I like that, Myles. I'm sure our audience has really loved this show so far. By the time you guys watch this, of course, you're going to love it. Where can they find you? Where they can go, look up your book, who you are. Yep. Go ahead.
So everything is Myles The Millennial. My website is MylesTheMillennial.com. TikTok, Myles The Millennial. Instagram is Myles.TheMillennial. You can find me on all those platforms. If you just type in Myles The Millennial, I'll pop up. And I just want to tell everyone, the way you see the world impacts the world you see, which means if you change your mind, you can change your life.
I like that. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to subscribe, comment. Of course, always keep the discussions going. Well, I have all the information you guys need in the description below. Anything else you want to say, Coach?
It's great, man. It's great having you on, man.
Yes, appreciate you, my brother. Always.
There you guys have it. Just like that, we out.